Hello and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. This is Jude Sandoval and I'm your host. Thank you so much for being here today. We've got a special episode today, and we did this same concept once last year and had a great reception to it. And that is a recording of our men's group meeting that we hold on the second and fourth Saturday morning of the month. And you hear me talking about it as well as other guests on the show about making sure not to isolate yourself during this difficult and challenging process of divorce. And the men's meeting is meant for us to get together, to talk, to share ideas, as well as to support one another. And we had just a phenomenal meeting this morning that I'm going to share with you. We talked about things from how to hire an attorney, how to prepare yourself for court, to how to prepare yourself once you transition into being a single dad, to all kinds of other topics. It's a little over an hour and a half, but I think almost every single minute had some really phenomenal information in it. And all of the guys, I'm so incredibly grateful for showing up and sharing and talking openly like they did. So tune in, listen, hope that it's helpful. And mostly, I hope that you'll consider joining our next meeting, which is going to be on March 26th at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And in the show notes, you can find a link to that Divorced or Divorcing Dads group meetup, and you can click on there. You need to become part of the meetup group in order to get the link, which is just a little bit of a safety feature to do that. But we'd love to have you. It is a really fantastic place to meet some other dads that are either going through the process or have gone through the process. Lastly, the divorce quiz is still up. Gets a lot of feedback on that it is positive and helping men understand where they're at in the divorce process compared to others who have gone through it. Takes about 10 minutes and it will spit out some results to you immediately. If you want some help in interpreting those results, you'll have an opportunity also to schedule a free, no obligation time for us to get together and chat about that. So please take advantage of that. It is at the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com under the divorce quiz tab, or you can find it directly at thedivorcequiz.com. Thanks so much and enjoy the show. We'll start out with some introductions and share a little bit about who we are, where we're at in our divorce process, or how long we've been divorced, and just what we would like to get out of the meeting today, or if there's a specific topic that you'd like to cover today, let me know. We won't chat about that immediately off the bats in the introductions, but I'll keep notes here and we'll definitely get through everything. And just a reminder that everything we talk about, we're gonna keep inside here. This is a place for us to be able to come and share with each other. So on that note, I'm gonna start with you, Jay, since you appear on my screen just to the right.
Sure. My name's Jay Harris, and I was married for 27 years. My ex-wife and I had 6 kids together. And then we just pretty much started drifting apart for a few years, probably about 5 years before our separation. We were drifting apart. You know how that goes, like living as singles in the same house. And it was kind of weird, but our marriage was messed up. And I kept asking my ex to go to counseling and let's fix this. And she refused for like 5 years. I would ask her probably every other week, let's go to counseling, let's go to counseling. And she didn't want to go. I think she pretty much gave up at that point. And then she got on psychotropic drugs, Lexapro and Xanax. And then she really went downhill from there. And then she did an ambush with our pastor at the time, her pastor still, and basically said, move out or I'll file for divorce the next day. I'm like, crap, I don't want a divorce. So I moved out. I had a place to go with a friend of mine. And I thought we'd be able to fix it and stay together, but it didn't work that way. It just got worse. And then she hired an attorney and went through the divorce process. And it took about 2 years for our divorce to go through. But during that time, she turned pretty much all of my kids against me, except my youngest one, Noah. So my 4 oldest, I've not seen her talk to them for more than 2 years now. So that part's been very painful. The separation and divorce wasn't a surprise to me, but the kids turning against me was. So I've always been a good father, blessed my kids for many years. And so this has been a hard road with my kids. And so I did meet a guy. I was just in Cozumel scuba diving and met a guy there, an attorney. We made friendship, and a really neat guy. And he said, I need to fight. I need to take her to court. So I'm meeting with my attorney again next week to fight for my 2 youngest, because that's all I can do right now. My oldest kids are 19 or older, and so I can't do anything with the courts. But so that's where I'm at right now. But I'm enjoying my life. I mean, I've learned to be able to live alone and be single again and all that. My business is going well. So my life is good right now, except for my kids. I just not sure what to do with them right now, especially the older ones. I just keep praying and asking God for a miracle, because the truth needs to come out what my ex did or said with them to be able to open this up. But the parental alienation is a real thing. It's not just with me. There's a lot of guys suffering from this, a lot. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now.
All right, man. Well, thanks for being here again. Appreciate it. Always appreciate you showing up. You've got lots of great wisdom. So
Thanks.
thank you. All right. Good morning, Joe B.
Well, hey, I'm Joe B. I've been a part of the group for some time. I appreciate Jay's story.
And just for those, and Joe B, just for those listening that on the podcast or on the webcast. So we're recording this today to give everybody an idea of what the group meetings are like and why they're beneficial and how they can help everybody. We talk about making sure not to isolate and to get involved in a group somewhere, whether that's a group like this or your church or a 12-step or something. And so some of us have opted to give ourselves some pseudo names today just to protect our identity. Some of us are still in courts, and some of us are still going through a divorce, and some of us just want to remain anonymous, which is perfectly fine too. So if we're giggling a little bit about our names here, that's why. So on that note, Joby, let's hear a little bit about you.
Thanks, Jude. Thanks for the chance to be a part of the group every week for months now. Very much appreciate Jay's story. There are shades of his story that are somewhat true, kind of universal for me as well. One of the things that Jay has always inspired me about is to get some exercise, and I've always been a active and exercise person. I have arthritis. I was diagnosed with it in my 20s, so exercise is always tough. It's important to do. It actually offsets the pain, but it also enhances the pain. So it's a little bit of a paradox. But if you guys caught me on camera, you probably saw that I'm a little bit scruffy today. I went camping with a buddy of mine. Got back very, very late last night. First time I've been unplugged in 2 years. I'm in healthcare, and it was really good to be unplugged. Hardest part was really getting over the hump of making it happen. Once I got there, it was really valuable. And I know that a lot of times on the group, we talk about how hard it is to kind of take that first step. And indeed, it was to actually just kind of drive out of the driveway with my friend and to really set up camp. But the result is being unplugged was important. Being in a different setting was important, and for an extended period of time. And one of the things that came up, I'd welcome everyone's input, is that he and I chatted about a little bit, is that kind of the making assumptions about where the other person, our spouse, what they were thinking or feeling. And in my naivete, I think that I'm very careful about that. I always ask and don't make assumptions. But in retrospect, I think that my spouse, we're divorced now, not quite a year, did that all the time. and not out of meanness. That was just her way of operating and making assumptions about what I was thinking and feeling. And I'm interested if that is a topic of the group that may come up, or a theme in the days and weeks to come. Thanks, Jude.
Man, that's a good one. And winter camping, that's hardcore, my friend.
It was, but it was okay. As long as you prep and think it out, it works.
Yeah, your comment about pain, I guess you just want to jump right into that pain right off the bat, eh? Maybe not.
I'm sorry, Jude. Pain?
Pain, yeah. You were talking about it being painful, so I can imagine. I like to camp a lot, so camping in the winter though is painful for sure. At least it has been for me.
Yeah. So we're in the Rocky Mountains, and we are in the middle of the winter. But with prep, which perhaps is a metaphor for everything around our marriages or divorces, thinking things through, it was okay. It was worth it.
You survived, right?
Maybe even better.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks, Joe. Em, good morning.
Morning. Hope everyone's doing okay. So yeah, just the latest on me is, I guess just to summarize for everyone, I've been divorced since June of last year, and just got, it was a really smooth divorce, if you can imagine that. She had an affair. We've been miserable for years. Got 2 kids. One's 5 and under, the other one's under 10. We just went through it super smooth. I had a business, so I wanted to get through it as quickly as possible. And she just wanted to move on to greener pastures. Got really lucky, and she just didn't want the kids anymore. She got severe mental health issues, and we took advantage of that. So she just said, "Hey, you just take the kids. I'll get them whenever." So we had a schedule, and then when the divorce was all said and done in 60 days, she woke up, got an attorney at that point, and kind of regretted everything that she did. But at that, it was too little, too late. So fast forward about a year later, she's committing crimes, breaking into my home, leaving her autistic son alone, and call the police, do all this stuff, get CPS, get all these different organizations involved, and they do absolutely nothing. They just come in, they're like, okay, we don't have enough to do anything here, even though she did all this. It's just not crazy enough, or it's not illegal enough. So kind of going through that, it's really frustrating. But at the same time, I've come to realize, and trying to reframe everything in a positive way, that I have what I have because I demanded it. I went to the attorneys. I've gone to multiple attorneys and interviewed a ton of them. So don't ever just go to the first guy you meet. Just go and you interview a bunch of them, and you go with the guy that kind of argues with you, but still makes you feel comfortable. And even then, I have to push and I have to demand things. And that's why I've got this amazing divorce decree. It's not the best in the world, but it got me the kids. And I know I'm like in the super minority of that. And then here recently, with what happened with her, entering my home without permission, stealing a bunch of stuff, and leaving our son alone in there, and we got it all caught on camera. We were able to. She went and got an attorney. Fortunately, that attorney kind of threw her under the bus. And we took advantage of that. Or there was an opportunity, and we didn't. And we did everything to be able to maximize that opportunity. So because they offered it, and we went back and we negotiated for it. The kids are now on supervised visitation for her, and she hasn't even taken it. So it's been like almost 3 weeks now. She hasn't even taken a single one of her supervised visits, but at least the kids are protected. Yeah. In there, and this is my advice to everyone, is ask for more. Always go for the jugular. So because we saw that there was an opportunity there, I went ahead and I put in there a restraining order. So she couldn't come within 300 feet of me, the car, the home. And they agreed to it. They did some red lines where it was like, hey, as long as if it's at the supervised visitation exchange. And I was like, yeah, no problem. So went back there. And even with all of that, the attorney still left out stuff in this agreement. And you move super fast in these things, at least in my case. And you got to take a step back, take a deep breath, because if you think your attorney's got your best interest in mind, you're absolutely wrong. They don't. They've got 20 other people they're probably working with. They got so much other stuff going on. So My attorney dropped so many balls, and I asked him, like, dude, I want you to put in there something that says that she cannot post pictures of the kids on social media, because that's fuel for her. She just wants to pretend to be a mom. But he forgot that. Not a huge deal, because we can probably get that later, but still, it's little things like that just coupled with like 20 other things over the last year that we could have gotten that we didn't. But all in all, we're framing everything in a positive way. Kids are protected right now. Their crazy mother can't come and mess with them without official government supervisors that she has to pay for. And now we're kind of in a holding pattern to see what she does until we go into mediation and then another trial. So like, even though our divorce is closed, now we have to go back in and everything's opened up again. And there's a chance for us to modify everything. And in our state, what we have to do is they make you do mediation first, and then they make you go to a trial if that's needed. And that's pretty much where we're at right now, which is the strategy of just grind her into the dust financially, because fortunately she does not have endless pockets, and she's out of work by her own choosing, and she's just off doing all these little crazy things. So that allows us to kind of sit back and just let her do what she does, which is destroy her own life. So we're got the kids protected, business is doing well, just focusing on the kids and the business myself. And we're just kind of like in a holding pattern under these temporary orders, which are great because she can't come near me, can't come near the house. Only way she can see the kids is to schedule an appointment with these supervisors. There's 2 supervisors there, this independent organization that's amazing, and she has to pay for it. So best case scenario, she doesn't see the kids for 6 months. And then on top of that, got divorced last June. Usually, at least in our state, in Texas, that they don't like to ever take a look at these things until at least a year, unless there's like a big circumstance. And even though everything I've just described might sound like, oh my God, she's messing with the kids, she's doing all this stuff, they don't care. It's just not enough. She's not putting cigarettes on the kids. She didn't try to like murder them in a bathtub. Those are the ones that I've pretty much been told that the only time they'll even maybe look at it is if the kid's like was severely hurt in some way, or everything in between. And even those get thrown out because it's just so difficult to prove anything with children. Yeah. So with all of that, we're just in a holding pattern right now, trying to get these temporary orders to just last as long as possible. And the way you do that is you just wait. And if their side, her attorney, and she doesn't push for anything, they don't mess with us, they don't even ask for the kids, then we just sit tight until everything goes on what's called a dismissal docket. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world. And you and your attorney go and just ask for that court date. And then they give you that. And at least in our state, then you have to immediately go, not immediately, but you have to go into mediation. But once June rolls around of this year, we'll be at the year mark. And that is supposed to give us even more powers and ability to do stuff. Because once that year's over, then the court looks at it a little bit of a different way. And you can go in and ask for a little bit more modification. But I'll warn everyone, get a chance, just go down to the court, talk to your lawyer, or sometimes you can look it up online and find yourself a couple of cases to go and take a look at a temporary restraining order case or an actual trial. And your eyes will be open when you go to the court and you actually see 2 attorneys, a mom and a dad, battling it out in court, and how things that you would have never thought of are so critical and key in your attorney. Like, are they good at time management? Because you don't have like an endless amount. It's not like TV, at least in our state. Yeah, sorry, I'm going. Yeah.
Yeah, let's. You've given us a lot to talk about, and I've taken some notes about what and you've shared this with us in the past, and I think it's good to revisit and talk about the attorneys, and also get yourself educated about the process, and even go down and watch. Let's talk about that a little bit. I want to give everybody else an opportunity to introduce themselves a little bit, and let's circle around, because you've got a lot of wisdom around that, and you got a lot of stuff going on, my friend. So keep up the fight. That's a lot. Hey, Jehun, I wanted to let you know we're recording this to be able to use to share with some other guys on the podcast, on my podcast, to listen, to give them an idea of what the group meetings are like. So you have the option to participate or not if you want. If you'd like to change your name on there too, if that makes you feel more comfortable, you can do that as well. But good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Thank you. I will probably listen more for today. unless I have something of actual importance to say. I'll see if I can change my name. Thank you.
Sure. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am a divorced father since 11 years now. I've been in the courts for 3 rounds. A very difficult, high conflict situation. The last thing that happened is I stopped seeing our son since January of this year. Because I'm completely exhausted with this whole process. I feel like I'm constantly being attacked and taken to courts, and I'm trying to refocus back on my own life. But since then, it's extremely hard actually not to see our son. I think depression is kicking in more and more. So that's where I am now. Thank you.
I'm really sorry to hear that, my friend. That's a challenge, and let's talk a little bit about that if you'll be willing to talk about that. Not seeing kiddos and have them. I mean, it seems like a theme today between Jay and some of the others about the challenges with parental alienation and not getting to see your kids, or having exes or soon to be exes manipulate that whole dynamic in that process. So I think that'll be a good topic for us to chat about as well. In person here with me, who I appreciate and who's hopefully going to eat at least a donut that I brought.
It's Donut Friday, not Donut Saturday.
Oh, it's not? Oh, okay.
Double down.
Missed it on that. All right. PJ,
Trouble.
welcome. Share with us.
Good morning, everybody. Jude, thanks for organizing this group. Glad I found it. I've been a listener for a few months now and a kind of a spectator in the background, and it's helped me kind of process some of my thoughts as I navigate my own divorce. We're about 3.5 months in, approaching the finish line. Somewhat of a smooth process, realizing that there's things that I should have done or could have done. More questions that I should have asked, kind of as I work through this process. But for the most part, it's been somewhat amicable. But yeah, I guess I'm struggling with the idea of creating a new identity for myself and who I am with my family. Trying to navigate new housing options. Trying to figure out how to dig deep and find the confidence to take all these new steps, I guess, in life, and just little simple things that I don't think I took for granted, but I guess to make me nervous moving forward, things like not seeing your kids every day, every morning, like that's going to be a reality coming up here in the near future. So I'm just trying to prepare myself as much as possible for these. I know you can only do so much, but the group has helped out, as there's been a lot of similar stories, a lot of parallels, a lot of struggles. So it's been really informative, and that's kind of helped give me some confidence to take some steps that I have so far in this process. So it's always been new, and it's something I'd never imagined I'd find myself in, but here I am, just going through these challenges like other dads. So I appreciate everybody that shares information and that's been joining the group so far.
How old are your kiddos?
12 and 9.
All right. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I think that's a good topic. I know for me that was a big struggle. The change in identity, like the change of your family dynamic looks different. Your parenting looks different. You look different. It's like a whole different experience, and there's a lot of emotions that go into it. So I think that's a good thing to talk about too, and how to handle that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, processing that new information, putting up a mask, so to speak, especially on the parenting side, where you really have to, thicken or enlarge your filter, you know, when life comes through and then you got to filter it before it hits your kids.
Yeah.
I find that really,
That's
really
an
challenging.
interesting one.
You know, like you gotta do what you can do to shield them, but it's just a totally different ballgame
Yeah.
with everything that we're talking about.
Well, maybe we can talk about how we do that and then also utilize it as a way to like open up conversation with the kids too and help them see. Like, 'cause that's so I've found, and it's incredibly difficult, that modeling a way to get through that, even if it's not perfect, helps to show them that like you can get through something that's incredibly difficult. And there's really, it seems like there's very few other opportunities like this challenging, because this is a challenge, right? There's no question about it, that can be an opportunity to show them something like that. So we can talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah.
So my name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm the host. I did start this. We're well past a year. I think we're at like a year and a half now. This meeting, and it's been really phenomenal. It grew out of my desire to have a forum that I didn't have going through my divorce. I have been divorced now 9.5 years. I was married 11 years. I have 3 daughters who are 16 and 13 and 11. They were 3, 5, and 7 when we divorced. And so where I'm at right now is my oldest lives with me full time, and the other 2 live with me 50-50. I am currently in the process of another CFI going on, and that's for those listening, that's a child and family investigation, which would be the second one in the last year. And we have been ongoing in court for pretty much on and off for those 9.5 years, and right now we are in court again. So CFI just came back and said they need more money to finish this because it's so complicated, and it's basically taking twice as much time as it has. And so there was that check to write this week, which goes to M's point about the attorneys and knowing what the attorneys do and what they don't do in the process and how you can expedite it, and the expenses, et cetera, that I think will be important for us to chat about. But I wanted to start with Joe's topic of assumptions of the spouse. And Joe, you want to give us maybe an example or something more specific that we can work from?
Sure. I take responsibility for not really kind of registering this. As I said, I very much loved my wife. It was a relatively amicable ending, but we were together for many, many years. But one of the patterns that I noticed since I've had some time away and some time to think is that she often made an assumption about kind of where I was at in terms of intellectually or emotionally, and then ultimately announced that maybe an hour or a day or a week later. And I'm a pretty compassionate guy. I would lovingly correct her and say, no, actually, I was thinking this, or I was feeling that. And then I've backed up and thought about, am I communicating? Am I being silent? And I would like to say that I actually was very communicative. But the challenge here is, I think, for me to understand what may be going on in our partner's head and heart, and to be active in that without being, at least for me, without committing the same crime, without making assumptions, to always invite. That said, I don't have an answer for it, and I feel very sad about it. And so that's probably the best I have, Jude, because I'm still working on it. Could use the group's help.
Yeah. So I'm curious. Are you trying to understand why she did that, or why she was wired that way now, in order to in order to help you with future relationships, or to get closure, or because we talk about like not being able to stay in our lane, right? Not being able to understand all the time what somebody's thinking or why they're coming from the perspective that they're coming from. And like for some of us who have exes or soon to be exes that have significant mental emotional issues or personality disorders, like that's a recipe to make ourselves crazy, right? In trying to figure out why they're thinking some way, because we're just not wired that way. So is that help me to understand like
Sure, I think great questions, Jude. And I think a little more the former than the latter. I'm fortunate to have an ex who is relatively mentally stable. But I think I want to learn from my experience, and I want to go and have relationships in the future where I understand what that dynamic was, and that I don't commit it, or that I recognize it when it's happening. So more
Yeah.
the former, Jude.
So I'm wondering then, because I know you, having been on the meetings for so many months, to be somebody who's very yeah, introspective and conscientious of others and thinking through things. And so I wonder, in your marriage, when you did bring that up, because you said that I would lovingly or attempt to correct things. What was the response, and was there what I'm trying to get at is, was there a dynamic in really, was there a dynamic that you saw that you brought and that she brought, and then like you can't control the dynamic she brought, but is there something better that you could have done? And if not, I mean, sometimes it's not. Like if you said that you lovingly brought something up and she just refused to listen or whatever it is, then there's really not much you can do other than share how you feel about something, and then say what you want to happen and move forward and set those boundaries. Now, whether you hold true to those boundaries or not is maybe where you went off, or was things went awry. I don't know, but maybe that helps.
All very good challenges, Jude, and I appreciate it. Just listening to the way you're formulating it helps me think about it. I think one of the lessons I learned is it's very important to check in with your spouse regularly. You know, we all do it, I think, routinely at the end of the day, come home from work, but also possibly even the Friday night date, you know, or the Sunday breakfast date. And to really make it routine, even if it doesn't generate a lot of data, to always have that window open. And I think there were times when I let that slide. It's a lot of work to
Yeah.
have a good marriage and an open communication. And if one of us our default is to become more silent, or one of us, the default is to be more verbal and over responsible versus under responsible, have to find that balance. So I think that's where I'm taking forward, Jude, as I begin maybe dating again, how important it is to check in, but to also know that people need privacy as well, and to find that delicate balance. It's
Right.
hard, very hard.
That's really good insight. I'm curious. I'm curious though, when you had the conversations and they weren't receptive, or she wasn't receptive to them, what's was there did you have further conversations around, we need to figure this out, or I this is my need is for you to be, I need to be heard, or stating something further after you just kind of like clarified what it was that she was misunderstanding?
Again, a very good question. I think I pursued it with love and kindness, but ultimately, Jude, I would say when we don't have a participating partner that way, or they are making assumptions that may or may not be correct, I came to trust myself that my intentions were good, and to really challenge myself too. You know, were my intentions good? Was I hiding something? Was I manipulating? You know, was I holding my cards close? Was I being accusatory? But the result of that is you end up kind of lonely. You know, that's not what we want in our partnerships. We want that back and forth, that good, and that banter that is not perfect, but is characteristic of intimacy.
Yeah, man. So I loved what you said about trusting yourself, right? And especially during this time where everything's so chaotic, we can get really we can start to doubt ourselves and think, I mean, geez, really between the court process and investigation sometimes and attorneys and everything else, you can just start to think that you're crazy. And I know that I felt like that way too. And it is lonely, like you said. Like if we're not in a group and we're not looking at each other or talking to each other or getting on a call like this, or if you don't have a therapist or a coach or somebody to talk with, it can be like just crazy in your head. So I like that, but always trust your instincts and whatever you need to do. I feel like whatever I need to do to get myself in a position that I can, like you say, trust yourself, right? But when you got all this stuff going on, and if you haven't figured out a way to just, and we call it self care, right? When we're talking in this forum, but found like a regular way to keep yourself in just a good place so that you can understand what those messages are coming in. That's pretty important, and I'm sure Jay will have something to tell us about some of the self care and ways we can do that because he does a really fabulous job about that. But I really like that, Joe, about the trusting yourself thing. That's pretty powerful.
Thanks, Jude.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Anything else about that? Anything else you want to dive into with that, Joe?
I think you raise really important themes that always make me think about, my responsibility, and that it's important that we be self-directed, not aggressive, and never violent, but that we find a path that, for me, very important. Kind of, you've called it kind of Joe B 2.0, and that we are in some ways recreating our life going forward, and that it's so critical to be self-responsible. That
Yeah.
if it is to be, it's up to me. It ain't up to the courts. It ain't up to the weather. It's up to me.
Yeah. Well, and you did also make because you are incredibly self-responsible, right, and self-introspective, like I said. But it's also incumbent upon the other person, and you said this too. It takes two people to be able to do that, and if you're not getting that input or that feedback or that effort either, then that's a challenge and a problem because both people need to be participating. So sometimes people just refuse, and then there's not much else you can do.
That's true.
So cool. Well, thanks. That was a good topic. That was a good one. And let's talk a little bit about the attorneys, and so we've all we've all either been involved with an attorney or are currently maybe unfortunately involved with attorneys. And Jay, I'd like to get some of your feedback too from what this individual that you met talked about as well, and your thoughts of why you're deciding to jump back into it. But I just want to make the point that all attorneys are not created equal, and as M pointed out, is part of what they're doing. This is their business, and so while it's personal to PJ and Jude and M and all of us because it's our families and our lives and our livelihoods and all of our retirement that we've may have worked for and saved, and like that might cross the attorney's mind for the 30 minutes that they're talking to you and actually billing you to listen to. But right, this is not like they're not thinking about everybody all the time in all the intimate details. And that's why when M says like you really got to get educated on the process, and hopefully we don't go through this process more than one time, but anything that we go through and do one time, we never do it really well, right? Think of the first time you did anything the first time. So if you're going through a divorce, like this is all uncertain. And we talked about this in the past with a couple of guys. Like we don't really know what to expect, which is part of what this forum is also, in being able to talk and say, hey, I'm maybe getting a CFI investigation. What does that mean? Or Jay talking about going back to fight for things, and what can I expect? But, get educated, talk to more attorneys, because like M said, is not every, just like any business, not every attorney or every type of business, not every attorney is created equal. And there's some that are really good and there's some that are really, really crappy. And if you got to make the change, you got to make the change with an attorney that might not be performing for you. But like Joe was talking about also, it's a relationship, and having that communication with them is pretty critical. Now, if you're not good at communicating, it's going to cost you a lot of money to figure out what that communication structure looks like and how you do that. But like one of the things that with one of my clients I'm working with him is specifically how he presents and is able to communicate with the attorney in an effective way so that he can get the results that he wants, but also isn't spending hours in meetings or on the phone with them, because that then just gets more and more and more expensive, and you want to use that money to utilize it in towards the divorce or in the court process, and not in trying to hash things out with your attorney. So anyway, that's my diatribe on that to start. But M or Jay or anybody else have any comments about that?
Sure. Just to give you kind of some history on, because I went a little overboard, but I had the luxury of planning for my divorce, and then my ex hit me with it, not out of the blue, but it was just like, wow, she wanted it all of a sudden. My initial plans for the divorce were just ridiculous and silly. I just won't entertain you guys with that. But part of that process was, if you do have the luxury to go and have consultations, go and meet with 7 attorneys. I know that sounds like a lot. So like whatever the number you can afford, but those initial consultations are not super expensive. Some of these attorneys have a really good rate for like the initial consultation, which will be about anywhere from $100 to $600, depending on the level of attorney that they are. And the higher level attorneys, they're part of a pretty decent sized group that'll have, senior attorneys, partners, and then like everything in between, and a bunch of paralegals. If you can afford it, go with those dudes, because like they just have the resources that in case you have a high conflict divorce like mine, or post divorce like mine, that they can just call you back right away. Where if you got just a place that's a one-man shop with maybe one paralegal, they're not going to be able to help you as much, because they're probably counting on what their caseload is, how many hearings or how many actual trials they have that week. They might be completely flooded and they won't even be able to give you a second of their time. And if you have a high conflict divorce and things are moving quickly, or just you need somebody to return your call or give you advice on something, you're going to be left high or dry, and it's going to be really frustrating. So when you go through that process, just go and talk to people. You want somebody that just doesn't agree with everything that you say, might argue a little bit with you, but you still get a warm and fuzzy. And then you have to just educate yourself as much as possible. Get on these calls with a group here. Go on Facebook. There's so many divorce group meeting or groups. Look for the pro se ones. I mean, pro se means like you represent yourself. That's an option for you too. However, just if you educate yourself enough where you can like defend yourself, and that'll just give you even more when you're talking to your attorney. And then on top of that, your attorney will kind of get the gist that you're just not the everyday dummy dad that's just going through this thing and he can take advantage of. Not that they would, but just don't trust your attorneys, because this is just a big money thing for them. And then the other thing I highly recommend is go to the court. Just Google family court and go there. And just you can either sit in your judge. I've been told not to go to your judge's courtroom that's been assigned to you. I don't think that's an issue, as long as you're not over there messing around, and they're probably not even going to remember you. But it's you can go to either your judge's court that's on your divorce decree or your divorce petition, or just any of them out there in your county, and go for as much as you can, and listen to at least a temporary restraining order hearing and a divorce case. And you're going to find out real quick how these attorneys, just because they might be good up front, when they get into trial, they might completely suck. Now, if you're lucky, the bailiff will be totally cool and tell you stuff that he shouldn't, like who's the best attorneys. And so you ask the bailiff, like, hey man, if you're ever able to get if you're, God forbid, have to go through a divorce, who would you hire? And they might tell you.
I like
Usually they
that.
say, usually they won't, but some cool bailiffs, especially if you go a little bit, they'll get to know you, or like after you see, because these cases go by really quick. They'll like, I had one bailiff slip out, like I would hire that woman, but I would never use her because she's like the evilest shark person I've ever met, kind of thing. Like, just they see him every day and every night. Like they would. So he was telling me that he would hire this one attorney in her firm because they're bloodthirsty, cutthroat, but they're so evil that he could never end up using them. But he would just hire them just so his wife or soon-to-be ex-wife wouldn't be able to get a hold of that person. You better believe I wrote that person's name down. So, but you'll just see how brutal the court system is too, because we all talk about it here, and like people come in here and tell you about it, but until you actually see it in person, how nobody wins that goes to court, or very rarely is there any justice in there, you'll come to realize how important it is to understand everything about this process, how you need to properly work with your attorney, or if you're going to represent yourself, and how you don't want to end up in court, how you want to get the best deal that you can before you ever go to court.
Well, that's a good point too. So a few things that you said, the pro se thing, it's great to get yourself knowledgeable, but if at all costs you can avoid representing yourself, the system is not structured to be user friendly for us to be in court. So at all costs, and when I say all costs, I mean, if you need to get a second job to afford an attorney, get a second job, because this is something that's going to have long-term implications, not only on your life, but on your children's life and going forward, because you're going to be co-parenting with this person. If you don't have that agreement relatively airtight, there's so many things that can create more difficulties and challenges. And even with an attorney, some of those things, somebody said that, or I think you said, like not everything was covered, or not everything that I wanted happened, and they forgot stuff, because they will forget stuff, and there's no exact agreement template. They're all different for different families, because different families are different. So if you can, absolutely positively do whatever you can to afford an attorney. And then your other point about if you can get to the point where you're comfortable with an agreement without going to court, say that's 85% or 90%, whatever that percent is in for you, settle and figure it out, because it is once you get into court, you have no idea what's going to happen. Like you brought up some points, you have no idea if your attorney is going to be great or not. Hopefully you've done enough research to feel comfortable with them. You have no idea what that magistrate's going to be like, or a judge is going to be like. You don't know if they're going to be in a good mood or a bad mood, having a great day, or if you remind them of somebody that they can't stand and they're going to have some bias against you. I mean, seriously, once you get into the court and you go to trial, there are so many variables that can happen that you're out of your control, that if you can get to a comfortable point in figuring out what that agreement is without going to court, then that is the absolute best way to do it. And then the last point, there's a great new book out. It's not so new, but it's about a year old, by Greg Ellis. And this guy, he's an actor and a voiceover actor in Hollywood, and it's called The Respondent, and it is about his battle as a dad in court that cost him literally millions and millions of dollars because of the bias against him and lies that his ex told in court. And it goes through his court process, how his kids were alienated. And he's been on every major podcast talking about it. He's got a podcast himself now. I highly recommend it. Greg Ellis. It's very enlightening to the fact that these challenges are across the board, whether you're just a knucklehead guy like me in Denver, Colorado, or some Hollywood star in Los Angeles, that these challenges that we talk about, on the second and fourth Saturday of every month in this meeting, and that you're going through or experiencing are, across the world. So, not that, it's kind of the philosophy of like, misery likes company. At least reading it, what were the shows, the Jerry Springer shows and stuff? You feel like some camaraderie around the fact that it's like, oh man, well he was going through it too. So I feel a little bit better. It doesn't actually help you, but it just at least shed some light on it, I guess, is the best way to say it.
One
Anything
other
else
little
on?
tip. Yeah, one
Yeah.
other little tip is when you go to the court, it's okay to ask the bailiff what the court case is for like what you just saw, because it goes by so quick. Sometimes you're not going to catch the names of all the people, but if you can just get the case number, then you can go to your county's lookup website and you can look up the public information on that case and get the name of the mother's attorney, the father's attorney, and a whole bunch of other information. It just helps you out. And then with that, go and you might have found your lawyer if you find somebody that's just an absolutely a beast. Because if they're a beast in court, more than likely they're going to be amazing too on the back end.
Yeah.
And you're looking for
I,
people with good time management.
I love that. I love that advice. That's fantastic. And even if you're just trying to get comfortable with what the process is like and what you're going to experience when you get into court. Because I remember the first time we went to trial and I got put on I was scared to death. I had no idea what to expect. And even though my attorney prepped me and talked me through it, if I had your advice, Em, and I had gone and sat in and unfortunately now it's been so many times I feel comfortable
and that's why I did it. Yeah, that's exactly because we had a hearing coming up for our TRO. So I was just worried I was going to panic or just so I was exposure therapy, right? So I was like, I'm going to go expose myself to this as much as I can. And in doing so, you start talking to people and you see other people are actually in the audience area just like you. And a lady was there. She's like, yeah, I'm about to go through a divorce. I'm trying to see what this is going on. I'm like, oh, you're smart too. And then start talking to the bailiffs and a lot of these things, no one's going to be there except for you, the bailiff, and anybody else is there like you, just checking stuff out. A lot of these are just on Zoom, but they're broadcast in the court too. So you're going to see a little bit of both. It's just with COVID and everything, it's just super weird. And then if you're in a place where they actually publicly post the Zoom calls, find those. And then as you join all these Facebook groups, find a Facebook group that's specific to your state. That's either pro se or just like regular divorce. And a lot of people there will post their court dates and Zoom call links just for support. And you can actually log in and watch those cases too. And I highly recommend you do that as well, because you don't have to go to the court for that, right? You can just like sit back in your home during lunch or whatever, as long as the case is going on, and just listen to it on your phone like we're doing this meeting here.
Yeah. All good stuff, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, Jay, do you want to chat about what you got going on or no?
Sure. Yeah. I just, I don't have an extra $100,000 lying around to pay attorneys is the main deal why I didn't, fight with my ex. And I don't know. I just kept praying and thinking things would change. And unfortunately, it's just gotten worse. So, it's been a difficult road as far as the children are concerned. So my friend, my new friend I met with, who's an attorney, he's, one of those guys, personal injury attorney. So he's very aggressive in court against the, insurance attorneys. And he told me I need to be way more aggressive. I need to do shock and awe and just throw under the bus. And the problem with that is, if I get really mean, I could make her an unfit mother and then she wouldn't be able to have her teaching job. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruin her career. I'm not a vindication person. I don't like to just destroy people. She's fine with her teaching job. Just between what she's doing with my children with the parental alienation is severe. And I dream about just having my kids on a witness stand in front of a judge, spilling the beans on what she told them about me. Because I'd love that to come out, because they will not talk to me. There is no communication. And so that's my biggest deal, is I just don't have any communication on what happened to cause it to happen. Literally, I have a diary I write down every, week or two through the years And I wrote down a time with my youngest daughter. We were walking in Elitch's parking lot going to swimming in the summer a few years ago. And she grabbed my hand and held my hand in public, which is pretty good for a teenage daughter because most girls won't do that. I just cherished that moment. And then 4 or 5 weeks later, she ran away from me like I had leprosy. And I didn't do anything in 4 weeks. So it's bizarre. The whole thing is just whatever she told them, I'm the devil and stay away from dad. And it's just really bizarre. And I don't know what's going on. But this attorney said, bro, you're dealing with a demon here and you got to get that demon out and get it out in the open to the light, kind of like cockroaches. When you turn on the light, they scatter. This stuff's whatever misinformation, what lies she's spoken has to get out. And
so is your divorce finalized?
Oh yeah, it's been finalized
Okay.
for 3.5 years. Separation divorce has been 5.5 years. The actual divorce has been about 3.5 years.
So what's your what's your parenting schedule?
I'm supposed to have my daughter 1 lunch a month, 1 weekend a month, and 1 week vacation a year. I have not had the weekend or the vacation for like 3 years, and that's when I'm going to go back and fight on.
Okay, so she's denying you your parenting time?
Oh yeah, in a court order
yeah.
that she signed. My attorney is filing a motion right now for a $10,000 bond that she's in contempt of court. That's how bad this thing is. She's broken at least 20 items that she agreed to.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, you guys shouldn't have left it go this long because you get pretty much every single. I'm sure you're documenting everything, but every single thing that happens, you have to just go and get them because it's not an order to compel anything with parent unless your state's different. But anything with like kids and the parents holding the kids from the other, then that immediately goes to an order to enforce.
Yeah, she's using them as pawns against me, is what she's doing.
Yeah, and then talk to your attorney if he had. Hopefully, he told you about this too. They can order a special kind of therapy for the kids. I can't remember what it's called, but it's pretty much for parental alienation, and it's like a reintegration therapy that they would have to go to. Yes, he put that
in the motion. Yep, he's got that in the motion, ready to go. Yeah.
And you guys good to go.
And the crazy thing is, if we disagree on the parenting plan, we're supposed to go to mediation, which I'm fine with mediation. We have a good mediator, but she's refused for 2.5 years to go to mediation. She has pushed me back. Oh, I don't want to do that. I mean, she basically is doing whatever she wants in disregard of the parenting plan. So I'm gonna put the fire to her. I'm meeting with my attorney on Tuesday, and we're just gonna file a motion. I'm tired of her crap. So I'm not a vindicating person. I don't want to, be mean, but I do want her to stop her nonsense.
You're gonna have to get mean, man. And again, this doesn't have to go all the way to the end, but you need to absolutely make it clear to her. Your attorney can do this. I mean, you're not in the same room for mediation, right? You're like in your own rooms. Mediator goes back and forth. It's kind of
no, I know we've done it before.
Yeah. So just you got to unleash hell on her, and that's through your attorney. So he needs to, because these are all negotiation things, right? So he needs to be able to look, we're gonna freaking destroy you, and you'll never be able to work another day in your life. And he'll do that in a legal term, but that's pretty much what he's going to tell her. And then hopefully she'll just back away and be like, oh wow, I don't want that to happen. So yeah, I'll agree to go to the alienation therapy and let him see his kids. But that's one of the hardest things to enforce that I've seen. I'm in Texas, so there's entire groups. You can look them up based on whatever the code is for enforcing when a child is kept from the other parent. But sometimes through those groups, you'll actually start finding actual police officers that they're allowed to post out there that'll enforce these things. Because what will happen in the court is you'll get everything that you want, but it still won't be enforced. And you'll have to actually go out there and do the research and find a police officer or like a team of police officers that'll actually go in and enforce it with your ex-wife. And they will even go as far as going and arresting her. Because it is like, if it's anything like here in Texas, it's like a class 3 misdemeanor, close to a felony, to keep the kids away from the other parent. However,
no,
it's just
here in Colorado, it's totally different. You could have an attorney go all the way and side with her and throw you under the bus just because they're pro mom versus pro dad here. The court system in Jefferson County here is so jacked up. It's unbelievable. It is so jacked. There's no justice here. The judges are whacked here. They're whacked out, man. They just do whatever they want. They don't even obey the federal or state laws. They just go, this is my courtroom. I do what I do what I want.
Yeah. Well, and that's any courtroom with any judge. And like getting back to what I was saying before, you just never know what is going to happen when you leave it up to the courts and up to the legal system, right? We're leaving something up which unfortunately has digressed so far in our personal lives that we're now having the government step in to tell us what we can and can't do in our personal lives, which is unfortunate. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about the language that I'm hearing both with you, Jay, and M, and I want to try to reframe this a little bit because I don't feel like you're being mean, and I don't feel like you're taking it to them or any of some of the other stuff that we talked about with like getting the attorneys to do. But what I want to do is reframe that language into you're just looking out for what your needs are and what your kids' needs are. And so if that means that you have to be you have to be very driven and diligent and aggressive with an attorney in continuing to go through your legal process, then that's within your right, and that's what your needs are, and that's what your kids' needs are. Frankly, your kids need to have you in their lives, and so by staying true to what your needs are, it's never being mean, because you need to go through the process because there's potential consequences on their end for not seeing or not agreeing with or not abiding by the needs that your kids and that you have is again in their lane, right? So if she loses her teaching license because you have to protect your children and you want to make sure that they have time with you, then that's kind of up to her. She has the choice. And so like making that choice for her is like, stay in our own lane. Let's stay in our own lane. And if you got to do what you've got to do in order to, through the process, because you guys can't work it out, then you've got to do that. And so, but when you think about, well, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Well, all we can do is state what our needs are. Like we were talking about with Joe earlier, state what our needs are, or state what we're feeling about it, state what we need to happen and how we want to go about doing it. And if they're not going to come to some resolution with us, then we need to take it through the process, like Em was talking about, and maybe that is being what you would call aggressive, but I don't even know. I don't even want to. I want to reframe that as that's just the process, right? That's not an aggressive. Just because you are taking your legal rights to whatever ends you decide to do it, doesn't mean that that's mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I know what you guys are saying. It's just, my problem's been, I'm just too nice. I've been really nice all the way from the beginning of her being mean. And I thought she'd reciprocate the niceness, but she's just run over me. It's kind of like you run over somebody and you're like, oh, I didn't kill them yet, let me back over them. And she literally will just back over me again and take advantage of any niceness I have. And you guys are right. I got to stop doing this. I got to put her to the screws and just force her. I think I'm just going to I'm going to file the motion this coming week instead of the mediation, and force us to get in the courts if she doesn't do this, because this has been going on far too long, and I just got to stop being nice. And I don't know.
To talk to your attorney, like you can get, it's very simple to get emotional about these things, but you want to have a plan with your attorney. And if you guys want to go straight to court, I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen in mediation. So you don't want to completely rule out mediation unless she's so difficult that she just doesn't agree to anything. Or if you just know her so well and just know that mediation is a complete waste of time, then yeah, just go to the court, just have the court figure it out, especially if you've got her dead to rights at this point with the documentation and showing that she hasn't been letting you see the kids and she's been doing all the parental alienation. But I'll tell you, man, you got to go back to basics, and you have to understand that your ex-wife is your nemesis. She is your enemy. Your marriage is dead. the person that you knew is dead and gone, and you have to let that go. You have to grieve for that, but you have to move on. You have to understand that this is your nemesis now, and like they will stab you in the back. They will do everything that they can to hurt you, and you've seen it already. Now that doesn't mean you have to do the same thing to them. You can always keep your karma clean, but like what we're all trying to tell you is that you're not getting in the mud with them. You're just going through the process, and just remember this: ice through your veins with a smile on your face. Just, this is war, and it's really hard to keep emotions out of it, but you got to keep it to the business of it. And the business of it is protect your kids, protect yourself, and you got to do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you 100% on that, Em. And in that, it is like, take the emotion out, and in taking that emotion out, you don't need to approach it as it's a nemesis or evil or whatever, because that is assigning intention, and we have no idea. We have no idea what's going on, like we talked about earlier, in the other person's mind or what's going on. All we can do is focus on what we have to do. Like you said, you got to go through the process, then go through the process, try to take the emotion out of it, which is very challenging during this. But I'm just really uncomfortable with the language of it being like, and not everybody, not everybody has an ex or soon to be ex also that is high conflict, like we're talking about, M and J, and my situation, some others here too. So I feel like, and I appreciate what you're saying too, because I felt that way for a very long time too. Like this is something that, somebody that's trying to do harm to me. And as soon as I shifted that mindset away from that, if it's like a fight between her and I, in that it's just, I'm being true to what I feel and what my needs are for my kids and for myself and for my family in the long run, and just focused on that, then I was able to start like not getting anxious, not getting worked up about stuff, just knowing, and then getting quiet, like we talked about, and trusting yourself in making decisions, and just knowing that even if my attorney's saying no, and I've had this happen multiple times, I'm saying, hey, I trust how I feel about this, so we're going to do this. And I can't tell you the number of times it's come back and they've said, like, well, yeah, I'm surprised that this happened. Like, I'm not, because I just trust that this is what my feelings are, what my needs are for my family, and I'm going to go forth on that, and let the other side handle how they want, but don't assign. Try not to. It's really hard, right? Because we've got all these emotions from all these years with this person, and there might be other stuff, and if we haven't worked through that stuff, we're not in therapy or coaching, we're letting this all like filter into what we're experiencing in the legal process, and we can avoid that. It's gonna help immensely. So just again, I'm not disagreeing with any of the strategy you guys are talking about, or like making sure that you're taking care of what you need to take care of and going through the process. I'm just saying it's going to be potentially for you mentally and emotionally healthier if you attempt to try to reframe it in that manner. So take that for what you will.
Okay.
And if you want to talk, we're always here too. So that's part of what we do on this and individually. And Jay, we talk often. So.
Right.
All right.
I'm just curious. This just breaks my heart to hear Jay saying this. He's trying to be nice. He's not a mean guy, and all of that stuff. There were times when I said that to myself as well. I don't just understand why. Forgive me for saying this like that. Why we become so stupid at some point? I'm sorry to say. I don't want to be saying it in a negative way. I'm just curious, Jay. Why do you think you want to be nice like this and not mean, and let this person get away with all of these things that they're doing to you? Why?
I don't know. I guess the hard part is I've known my ex for over 30 years, and it's really strange. When I met her, I mean, she was so nice. She wouldn't step on an ant on the sidewalk. She's just so nice and kind. And then she just turned into this alien creature, man. Like I don't know. I mean, I don't know who she is anymore. She's just a liar and a deceiver and a con artist. And it's like I didn't know she was narcissist until, this blew up with the marriage. It's just, she's completely different. And so, it's a conflict in my mind and my heart. And I just got to realize that this isn't the same person you're dealing with. And you've got to be hard on her now. And so I'm realizing that now. Unfortunately, I've lost some time with my kids, but I can't do anything about the past, but I can do something about the future. And so I'm gonna meet with my attorney on Tuesday, and we're gonna go for it. And he can be aggressive. This attorney I have, he's known our family for 22 years. He knew our kids when they were little. He's really good. He's really smart. He knows every single judge in Jefferson County. So he knows the court rules. He knows what to do, and he put together a very aggressive motion. I mean, she has to put up $10,000 bond. If she breaks the parenting plan again, she has to pay me the $10,000 and she goes to jail. I mean, this thing is pretty severe. That's why I didn't file it. I thought it was too mean, but now I just got to do it. I just got to move forward.
Yeah, well, and that's incumbent upon the judge agreeing to that. But I want to address, JJ, what you just talked about being nice. And so there's a really good book called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert
Yeah, I
Glover.
heard about that.
It's a great book. And being nice or overgiving, like in the Rebuilding book, it talks about overgiving often, and doesn't make us necessarily better or worse. It's a part of a dynamic that we get in, and it could be, who knows the origin of it. It could be your childhood, it could be early relationships, whatever. But the overgiving or being the nice is an attempt to try to get something that you want by doing these actions, and that's not necessarily better than somebody just taking without giving back. So it's just a different dynamic in a different way. So we often get in, and I hear this in divorce conversations quite often on both sides with men and women, is, oh, well, I gave so much to the relationship and I gave and they just took. But well, part of the problem was you were giving too much, and that's taking somebody else's agency away to be responsible for themselves, whether that's personally or as a parent or as a provider or as a child care or whatever it might be. That overgiving or being too nice is equally as detrimental as taking too much. And so again, shifting that mindset in what you're saying now is, well, I'm not going to be as nice. All I hear you saying, Jay, is, oh, I'm going to be true to what my needs are now, which is that I need to spend time with my kids, and my kids need to spend time with me. So again, it's a shift in the mindset and really the language around it. And that book is really masterful about, and I highly suggest it in talking about that and what that dynamic is. And after reading it, you might see that, oh, okay, well, this isn't a fight. This is realigning an unhealthy dynamic that is happening. And that might be through the court system. And again, that's not mean. That's like your legal means of doing this because you have a right to be a father with your children and spending time with them. And that's not mean. That is just your right as a father, and the instrument in which to implement that or make sure that happens is through the court system. And so, again, it just goes back to that mentality. And JJ, I know we've talked about about kind of the same thing with your circumstances. And when our kids are getting taken or being withheld from us, it's just the hardest thing in the world to try to keep a right mind, right? Because it sucks. It sucks. There's no better way to talk. It just sucks. And you're trying to do the right thing, but sometimes the right thing is you got to push it to whatever legal means you need to in order to ensure that happens, because it's protecting your kids. And sometimes that's a battle. Hey, fellas, I like 9.5 years, I'm still in court, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can empathize with the battle. And, that's just, it's wearing like nonstop, mentally, emotionally wearing on you, not to mention financially. But, sometimes that's just what it's going to take.
Yeah, I appreciate this. I haven't read that book, No More Mr. Nice Guys. I heard about it. But I also can say many years ago, I was the Mr. Nice person or trying to be. And that Mr. Nice guy is dormant somewhere inside me still. It just disturbs me profoundly because it's been so detrimental for me, for my career, my relationships. So long as I was the Mr. Nice guy, my career was stalling. I was stuck in the same place. As soon as I tried to get away from this Mr. Nice guy, suddenly my career continues to grow. My relationships in society start growing because I see some of these Mr. Nice guys in my social circles.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to trust them because it's not very clear what is it that they want and what are they trying to get. They're putting this facade up front, and it's hard to tell what is it like. Am I gonna get screwed any minute? It's very hard to trust an environment like that.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head because you don't know what the intentions are. And it's the nice guy syndrome, or whatever you want to call it, is a form of codependency. So if you really want to dig into the clinical philosophy and background on it, read up about codependency and how that works. And Pia Melody has some good books called No More Codependent No More, and I can't remember the other one, but I'll shoot that out in the follow up to our meeting about any of those codependency books as well, because they're enlightening. And I got involved in Codependence Anonymous, which is a phenomenal 12-step group that just hits the nail on the head about like diving right into it. The No More Mr. Nice Guy is in the context of relationships and romantic relationships, and they talk about that. The codependency is really, you're going to find, like JJ just said, that it permeates all of your life, your professional life, your personal life, your life with your children, everything. And so if you really want to get to the root of it, that's where it is from a clinical perspective. And then working through it is absolutely remarkable. It's one of the best things that I ever found and that I ever did. So something to think about. And I'll put that in the notes also.
Okay.
Let's see.
Real quick, I forgot to mention, when you are looking for attorneys, I also recommend you ask them if you believe that your soon-to-be ex-spouse or your ex is a narcissist or has a personality disorder, like borderline personality disorder, or histrionic, or any like bipolar. Ask your attorney, like, hey, can you tell me what you think a narcissist is, and have them describe it back. And if they don't know what the heck if any of that is, don't get that attorney, because I made that mistake. The attorney I went through the divorce with, he just didn't understand what the level of crazy my ex was. But my newer attorney is a pro at that. They deal with that every day. They completely understand what somebody with these personality disorders has. So just don't hinder yourself from the beginning if you can. If you have your ex, if they have that, run that by your attorney. And if they just give you a cookie cutter answer, then go with somebody else. Go with somebody that really understands, somebody that's high conflict if that's your situation.
Yeah, that's a great point. Especially if it's high conflict. Good point. All right, I wanted to chat.
I quickly just wanted to confirm to Jay that my comments about Mr. Nice Guy is not so much to criticize him. It's more of to offer him support, actually. These days, when every once in a while somebody turns to me and say, "Oh, you're so nice," it gives me chills. Like I'm like, I hate it. I hate being called a nice guy, because I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing that thing again. I'm trying to be nice here. I don't want to be, and so I try to correct myself. So that could be something to consider for Jay. It's not, to criticize you. So that's something that this group has done for me so far, which I'm grateful for, is to support each other in the right direction.
No, I appreciate everything, guys. It's just, it's been a hard road. I mean, it's tough for me. I mean, I read the Bible every day, and Jesus says, "Turn the other cheek." And I know we can talk about that for a long time. I don't want to, stay there. But I like what you said, Jude. It's a form of codependence for me to just lay down and let her run over me, and that time's got to go. It's got to end here and now. And it's not just what I want. It's hurting the children. It's really hurting the kids in a big way to have this picture of a father being this horribly mean guy, which is completely untrue. I have two 3-ring binders packed with Father's Day cards, birthday cards, handwritten letters from my kids saying, "Dad, you're the best dad ever. I love you so much." We have 10 videos, old VHS tapes of Father's Day and birthdays and Christmases and Easters of beautiful family times together. I mean, and we have, picture books. My ex unfortunately took all of that stuff and, put it in her attic. But the evidence of me being a good father is overwhelming. If this went to court, the judge would just be spanking her so hard she wouldn't know how to come out of it. And so, so I need to just come down hard, not be Mr. Nice Guy anymore, and just, fight for the rights of not just for me, but my kids, man. It's damaging them and damaging the whole family. And it's continuing to happen.
Yeah. Well, keep having that good heart, my friend, because I know you do. And just keep showing up here, and we'll be here to support you, like JJ said, because that's what this is about. So,
Okay.
and then also reach out anytime, like you do.
Okay.
You do a good job of that. So.
Yeah. And I apologize. I got to go. I got to get ready for a meeting, client meeting here. So.
All right, my friend.
But thank
Take
you
care.
guys. Thanks for everything. Yeah.
I wanted to, the last topic I wanted to chat about was PJ's, about the process for going through the whole transition and change that you experience once your divorce is final, and just ideas, and Jay's unfortunately jumping off, but one of those is really creating a structure around how you're taking care of your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual self, because it's like all of that ties in together. And if any of those things are off balance, it can, that's when the depression might come in and take hold. It's going to come in, right? It's going to come in when, God, for me, it was right after the transition, when I would drop my daughters off and I knew I wasn't going to see them for days or a week. And then I would be just like, I thought I'd be fine. And then I'd get into the office and just break down. And it's going to come, but how quickly you can get yourself out of that and use the tools to get out of that is what's going to slowly help to build like your tool belt then for steadying and then growing from it. So I don't know, do you have routines, or
Yeah, I do. I've been developing some more, and mentally I've been like visualizing it literally as, a wave and the tide coming in. Just, it can come in real heavy, and then I don't know, sometimes it goes away pretty quickly. Other times it's just a slow withdrawal back to, my base, where I need to be and when I can function, and, know what I have to do and what steps I have to take. So I think to your point, like those certain little triggers that are going to be coming, like drop off and pick up. And I feel like mentally just preparing and visualizing that process and in a positive way. I mean, that's kind of how I'm preparing for it, but I am taking care of all those other things, spiritually, physically, mentally, things like that, which is how I feel is helping me. I don't have a way to measure that other than coming to the meetings, talking to people, and, because in my head, things are going to do good, they're going to be great, but I don't know, that wave could come crashing in any minute. I got to figure out how to.
Yeah, well, and also this group and anybody else, therapists or coaches, to support when that wave becomes like a tidal wave.
Yeah.
Like when it becomes, because sometimes we think we got a hold of it, and then something big happens or multiple things like in a row come, and then we just like, holy crap, what do I do? Like I don't have I don't have something to handle that. So like having a safety net too, or somebody to reach out, our group, me, therapist, somebody also, because slowly it's like building a muscle, right? Where as you continue to see that you can get through that next drop off and maybe maybe it's not that you're spending 10 minutes crying in the office, it's only 5 minutes, right? But it's 5 minutes better than the last time, and then maybe then you don't, but you just feel sad, and it's just slow. You become braver, really. You become braver to face that and then get through that, and then you're doing it through everything, right? Like every different scenario that might come up with the whole process, and then slowly you're almost retraining yourself like a muscle to be able to handle it, because you can handle it, and then you know that you can handle it.
Yeah, getting that confidence.
Yeah.
The past couple of years, it's been like that, being a parent, parenting my kids, as I'm trying to lay down the groundwork for them on how to handle certain challenges. Like literally, while in the back of my brain, I'm beating myself up as I go through these same challenges, just on a more grown-up level, so to speak.
Yeah. Would you share with them about that? Like for instance, like to the extent,
to a degree, yeah.
To the degree that they can understand what their age is. Like, oh yeah, I'm going through something like that, and this is what it is.
Yeah, it's like bullying at school, like things like that. It's the parallel is of getting bullied in my life, in my marriage. So speaking to it, and like this is what I've done, and this kind of helped me, and it could be things that I'm doing literally in the moment, in that morning, that I just found out about, that I'm trying to share with them. Like, okay, like how about you try this? I'll try it too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the honesty is the big part of it too.
Yeah.
Just being able to recognize and being brutally honest with it, and not fluffing over it or masking it. I mean, that's been a whole different subject on its own. Just trying to be true to yourself and not make excuses for things. And it's very easy to do that. I mean, it's really easy to get stuck in a hole and come up with excuses. Yeah.
They're gonna know. They're gonna feel it, even if they consciously don't know.
Yeah.
They'll subconsciously know. And then one of the hardest things for me was to show emotion, like sadness, to cry in front of my daughters.
Yeah.
And then once I finally did it one time, and then now they just tease me. They're like, "Oh, Dad, are you gonna cry again, or are you feeling sentimental again?" So now they just tease me about it. But it was important to be able to show them like that I get sad too, or get angry, or because I feel like when we go through this, we want to man up, right? Like we want to be the rock, and we don't want them to feel sadness. And this is exactly what I did, right? I wanted their lives to be perfect. I was going to be super dad. I was going to make sure everything, and they were never going to see a crack or a weakness. And I'll tell you, man, that could just basically run you into the ground. It almost ran me to the ground until I said, like, I relent. Like, I relent, God, I can't do this. I'm going to have to figure out a different way.
Yeah. I've definitely been through that, going through it currently.
Yeah.
Every day it's a challenge.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good if you're letting it out and not keeping it in, because it'll manifest in ways in sickness and disease and accidents if we just keep it inside. And we talk about that often. So any other insight on that, JJ? And any other?
Well, on feeling sad, I could share, sharing emotions has been an important part of my relationship with our son. Moments I was raised not to allow, tears out and not to feel sad and all of those things. Brutal has been always, it's been brutal on myself. And then opening up to my son, sharing these emotions of sadness or whatever, have been consistently those moments where we actually bond something that actually constructs our relationship, something that is undeniably reliable between us, is those moments when I have been honestly, truly sharing my emotions for how they were with my son, one of the closest person to me. It's just very powerful.
That's awesome, man. You brought up a great point about the shame, and that happens a lot with codependents or nice guys, is that we're really hard on ourselves because we want everything to be perfect because we're trying to make everybody happy. And for me, that was a huge thing, is experiencing shame when, like, all kinds, like, it was everything. It was that I didn't have a wife anymore. I didn't have a family that I thought I was going to have anymore. The design that I wanted for my children, they're not going to have the bedrooms that they had, or the stuff. Like, there's like shame around everything all of the time, and it's just all consuming and overwhelming. And so, that's a good point also about working through that shame, and maybe grief can be involved in that too. And I think you alluded to grieving earlier, or somebody alluded to grieving earlier. That's a huge part of the process. But the book, and we talk about every single meeting, is the rebuilding book, and it talks about those emotions and talks about some of the common emotions like shame and grief and some of those others, and gives tools on how to work through it. It's a really good book. Have you so, all right, fellas, anything else we want to chat about? We're at about the hour 40 mark, so it's been a good meeting. Lots of good stuff. DJ, anything else? JJ, M, anything else we want to chat about?
Sure. Yeah, I guess just real quick. I don't know, like, I'm in this weird situation, and I don't mean that if I sound like I'm complaining here, and I completely understand everyone else's position here because they don't get to see their kids as much as I do. But I'm just in this weird situation where the kid's mom just doesn't want to see the kids, and I have to keep track of her through her social media to document. So when we go back to court, I can be like, hey, look, whatever she's saying, here's her committing crimes across the United States, or hanging out with a new guy, or like right now she is in New Mexico. We live like in the Dallas area. So she has a new dude. She's out there. So I got to go take Instagram or screenshots of her Instagram. I put them in a little journal, and it's I don't know. It's like, I hate doing that now because, like, you have to think about your ex and what they're doing and all of that stuff. But then at the same time, like, the kids are like, hey, where's mommy? What's going on? And I'm having a challenge here of just being able to deal with these emotions, and let alone how to be there for the kids and talk to them and say, like, yeah, well, I don't know when mommy's going to come see you next. I just, you can only say that so much. So the next step is we're getting the kids into therapy. That's going to take a while because of COVID and everything. Just getting into a therapist is months out before we can do that. And I just love them as much as we can, of course. But yeah, I just didn't know if you guys had any tips or tricks of being able to deal with these emotions.
Well, the therapy for the kids and for you, I don't know if you're in therapy, would be pretty.
I am.
Pretty okay, good. Yeah, that's tough, man. Does your attorney want you to be documenting this stuff? Does your attorney feel like that's...
Yeah, I've been told by it. I'm trying to find somebody else that I can outsource this to, because you have like friends and family that they'll send you stuff, but it's just not enough. It has to be, if you guys didn't know, I've been told the proper way of documenting like social media is you have to, like, you can make your own account, but you don't just take a picture. It's best, I found, to do it on the phone, because you can do on an iPhone, you can do a screen recording, and you go and you look at the post, zoom in, capture the comments all in a video, capturing what you're doing on your screen. Then you go and you open up like their friends list or the people they're following, and what you're trying to do is show 100% that you didn't go out there and create with her pictures their own Instagram just so you can write something illegal or something horrendous about you or disparaging, that it's actually hers. And then it's a trend, right? It's not just like this one thing. Like my ex 3 days ago posted that driving 114 miles an hour. She like took a picture out. She went to New Mexico last weekend, 12-hour drive, and came right back like 3 days later and posted that she was driving 114 miles an hour. The other day she posted that she stole a bunch of food and she thought it was funny, and she had whatever dude she was on a date with send him back in to go pay for it, posted that. So you just take all this stuff. I put it like in a Google spreadsheet and then a folder where everything just kind of like references itself. And I know it's not healthy for me to look at this stuff. So that's why I was thinking of like finding somebody, I don't know who, that I can outsource this to and just be like, hey, look, here's your job. I'm going to pay you this much. Just get out there. And every time she posts something, I need you to capture everything in this way and then just throw it on this Dropbox and then just date it.
Yeah, I think that's your best bet if you can find somebody else to do this, because that's mentally and emotionally taxing
Yeah.
to have to be a private investigator or around that. So if you can, if not, maybe talk with your therapist about strategies around how you can compartmentalize this, that it's going to be short term for, for this period of time, and it's simply meant to be a positive for protecting your children. I don't know what that looks like mentally and emotionally for you, and that would probably be an important discussion with your therapist or around that, or strategies for how you approach that when you're either getting ready to check it or while you're checking it, or like we were just talking about with having a tool, like tools for dealing with that, because that's obviously going to bring stuff up. So, and then as far as the kids, man, just like, you don't know, right? It's not a lie. You don't know when they're going to see their mom again, right? So, I don't know if there's no real good way to say anything other than make sure not to say anything bad.
Yeah,
Right?
And it's not the challenge, but yeah, like all I do is when they ask me something about that, I just say like, I don't know when you're going to get to see your mommy next. It's been almost 2 months that they've seen their mom physically, and she hasn't called them in about a month. She just stopped because of all the stuff that we've got going on. That's kind of what she does. And as much as it hurts, like that's actually the best case scenario for us. And this is kind of what nice guy wise, right? I would just contact my ex and be like, hey, the kids miss you. Can you please call them? But this is where you have to think, what's the best thing for the kids, for them to come in, going in and out sporadically in their lives. It's not my job to go and chase down the other parent and tell them to be a parent. So at this point, more than likely I'm blocked on her phone, but I don't contact her. If we have scheduled call times, she ignores them. She has her own attorney. I'm surprised her own attorney hasn't told her, get your kids, talk to your kids. So what that means is if she goes 6 months without talking to the kids or contacting the kids, that gives us even more power when we go back to court. So like, I hate to have to think that way, but that's just, again, ice through your veins and a smile on your face. And this is not truly what's the best for the kids. It's not to have somebody that's in and out of their lives. And that's what the professionals have told me, sporadically and messing them up. And it's her choice if she wants to do this stuff. So kind of my strategy is just like, when the kids say, hey, where's mommy? I'm like, I don't know. I know she loves you. And when they tell me I miss her, I'm like, I know you miss your mommy. I acknowledge it. And I give them a big hug and I tell them I love them. And I wish there was something else that we can do.
Yeah. Well, there might not be, and getting them in therapy so that they can talk to somebody else other than you would be incredibly helpful.
I'm curious. So why did they ask you to serve as a middle guy to their mom? I mean, I don't know what's your situation? Are they
Sure.
too
Well,
young?
yeah, our son's 5 and he has autism, mild autism, and our daughter who has anxiety and ADHD, she's 9. And they just don't understand it. My daughter will just start breaking down. She's like, why can't you call mom? Why can't I call mom now? And they're just too young, right? Like, and if I called their mother and she would just ignore it, because I'd have to reach out to her. We use a program called Our Family Wizard. I'd have to reach out through Our Family Wizard and go through this whole thing. And then she would just, anytime with like my high conflict ex-wife, because of her personality disorders and mental issues, contacting her in any way, shape, or form, or responding to her in any way, shape, or form is just fuel to the fire. It could be positive, it could be negative engagement, and she will come back. Like if she sends me a message and I say, oh, thank you, she'll come back, if you really wanted to thank me, just some nasty harassing thing. So I've just found out that at this point, I do not engage. So like at most, she'll get a response from me, and the response will be I'll send this to my attorney to review and discuss with your attorney. That's my copy and paste response right now. Because I'm going to all these different courtrooms and actually seeing trials and cases, the judges don't understand technology. That's one thing you have to understand too. Like, I use Our Family Wizard, but any co-parenting app should have the ability to say like, hey, this message has been read. Judges don't get that. They want everyone to be cordial and at least acknowledge some kind of thing. So I send my acknowledgement. My acknowledgement is like, received. I'll forward this over to my attorney who will review and respond to your attorney. Done. And that covers me for court.
It does. And the court's not structured to get into that kind of minutia either. So
yeah, they're not. They don't care.
You can have all of the social media posts, and you can have arrest records, and you can have professionals' opinions, and the court could potentially just ignore all of it. And I speak from experience. So so some of this we gotta.
And how much time do you have? Like, you got like 20 minutes, at least here, if it's a TRO meeting, TRO hearing, it's like 20 minutes for each side. That goes by super quick. So you have to have an attorney who really understands time management. If it's an actual case or like actual like trial, here in Texas, they'll give you an hour unless you've got some other kind of circumstances and you get even more time for that. But now attach a dollar value to that. I mean, an hour trial is about $14,000 here in legal fees, just to prep for it and get everything together. And then if it's going to go even more than that, like one of my attorneys right now is a big firm. They're doing $1 billion in assets, $1 billion in asset trial right now. So I can't even wrap my brain around that. And it's so like, the stuff that goes into these things and the cost is just astronomical. So like, for us normal people, just to be able to go in there, you have to be able to weigh what the costs are going to be compared to what you're trying to get. And that's why I can't stress enough that just get your deal before you go in front of that judge. Because you go in front of that judge, they're just going to cut that baby in half. That's like the best case scenario for you.
Well, and I'll just end it with, you just got to have faith that it's happening how it's supposed to happen. And sometimes that's really, really hard to do, even like when it's going what you perceive, not your way. So we don't always know. But all right, fellas, we got to wrap it up. I sincerely appreciate everybody today. Again, reach out if you need to anytime. And we will see you in, a couple of weeks, right? So this was the second week. So we'll see you on, what is that, the 19th, the 26th.